This is Bounty Hunter. Wait, wrong clip. That's actually 7 months ago in the previous version. This is Bounty Hunter now. Nothing but hundreds of boosters trying to make you pay them 200k to stand there and let you kill them. If you want a real fight, good luck getting one without having to either use 4 or 5 penalized skips, or wait 10 minutes by making them use their skips. Bounty Hunter itself is a great idea. It pairs you up with a good fight so that you don't have to spend a bunch of time and run energy frantically trying to find a fight in one of the many places you can find PKers in PvP worlds. You also don't need to leave half of your loot on the floor after getting a target PK because of somebody teleblocking you 5 seconds later. Not to mention the additional rewards that help you break even or even profit from PKing, which can really be costly if you're not able to get a 3-to-1 KDR. Unfortunately, the game mode is broken. No matter what Jagex does, boosters always seem to move in and take over. This makes most or all of the legitimate PKers leave because nobody wants to wait 10 minutes between fights. I love Bounty Hunter, so I'm going to do my best to keep it alive. I'm not going to let these selfish gold farmers and PvP hating players get the game mode deleted. So let's talk about ways to fix this mode once and for all. These fixes are going to be ordered by the effect on legitimate PKers, starting with the least negative effects. Naturally, the first fix to emblem boosting is to make it against the rules and bannable. Currently, Jagex has made no direct statements that selling or buying kills is wrong. In fact, a little over a month ago, when I was asking players to stop boosting, they kept defending their actions by telling me to go read the news post. Well, the news post they were referring to was the one posted on the 14th of May, 2020. The one line that I'm assuming that they were using to defend their scandalous behavior was, "While we don't expect to be able to prevent players from cooperating, we've added a measure to discourage large-scale emblem transfers." For some odd reason, the boosters took this as a sign that they were doing nothing wrong, and this was the day that Bounty Hunter started going up in smoke. Over the next several weeks, more and more boosters started appearing at the ditch, and PKer numbers dwindled as word of the high GP per hour and complete impunity spread throughout Venezuela. There is no reasoning with these guys, maybe unless you speak Spanish or have the patience to talk through Google Translate. A large part of why so many boosters exist is because they think what they're doing is perfectly fine. Making cooperating for kills against the rules at the very least would probably reduce the amount of people doing it. Now, if you made it bannable and actually had Jagex go around and ban these boosters occasionally, it would probably completely fix the problem, at least at the higher combat levels. They're not going to risk their 80+ combat account that they could be using to kill green dragons or something. This fix would have no negative effects on legitimate PKers and could single-handedly fix the game mode and bring people back. The downside to this solution is that Jagex might not have the extra time or staff to completely eradicate the boosters. But I mean, if they just went around the ditch for 10 minutes a day banning them, that would at least discourage most of them and mostly solve the problem at the wilderness ditch. And even if the bounty hunter abusers moved somewhere else in the wilderness, PKers could eradicate them. If they kept dying and losing their time in 20k, they'd be strongly discouraged from trying to boost emblems. Or players would simply never get them as targets if they toggled deep wilderness targets off, and they can just go back to getting legitimate, fun fights. If Jagex wanted, they could even go further and add boosting detection like we have botting and real-world trading detection. This would be the best solution because not only the people selling kills would be banned, but also the people buying them and emblem farms throughout the wilderness would cease to exist. But again, the problem with this is the possible lack of resources to make it happen. Now for the second thing that could fix the current state of Bounty Hunter. This is potentially the easiest fix that wouldn't greatly hurt the legitimate PKers, and it aims at the primary mechanic that allows boosters to do what they do with complete safety. That primary mechanic is the wilderness ditch. Anytime you attack a booster, they simply can just run to the ditch. Any damage that you would have done, say from a Ballista Dragon Thronex combo, is completely gone. Just thrown out the window like it never happened. So as soon as you attack most of these boosters, they just run to that little area and get off scot-free. Many of them will even taunt you by walking in and out of the zone because they know that any damage that you would have done disappears the second they reach those 2 rows of tiles. The obvious solution to this mechanic is to nerf the ditch. At the very minimum, it shouldn't negate damage to the target, your hit should still happen. But honestly, they should do more by making the target vulnerable to attack for 10 seconds after entering the area. The good things about this solution are that it should be relatively easy to put into the game, and it would make it so that PKers would have a decent chance at sending them back to Lumbridge. However, it still would do nothing to stop them from cooperating with each other when they get themselves as targets. Plus, it would make it so that PKers can't run back to the ditch and be safe after using a last-ditch special attack. But then again, wouldn't that kind of be a good thing? It basically is spec-tabbing. But anyway, overall, this solution would make it a lot less annoying to get a booster as a target since we'd have a decent chance to clear them. But it wouldn't fully solve the problem of emblem boosting. If you pair it with the next solution, however, it could pretty much clear the boosters from the game if PKers wouldn't mind teleporting to wherever the boosters move to carry out their shenanigans. Solution 3 is about fixing the issue of the boosters wasting the time of legitimate PKers. I hate letting these guys off the hook by using my skips on them, not to mention the fact that the skips are limited, so I make them skip me. Which means I'm often sitting without a fight for 8 to 10 minutes at a time. Unfortunately, they don't seem to understand that whether they waste 2 minutes of both of our time or use one of their skips, the outcome is the same. Once you reach 5 target abandons, whether you skipped or let the time run out, you can't receive a target for 30 minutes. As you probably already know, the abandon timer starts at 2 minutes every time you get a new target, and it ticks down when you're in a safe area. My idea for solution 3 is to take the timer from being target specific to being universal. So if a booster lets the 2 minutes run out because the PKer refuses to pay, the timer would be at 0. Once they get a new target, it would start at 0 seconds so that if they run into the ditch to avoid getting PK'd, they'll abandon their target and the PKer is not inconvenienced. In order for this new timer to not hurt PKers though, it should go back up by between 1.5 to 2 seconds for every second that is spent in a dangerous area of the wilderness. This solution would mean that, as long as there's enough PKers online and some of them are willing to make the boosters skip them, the game destroyers would be in constant target timeout. That, or they would have to move away from the ditch so that most PKers wouldn't get them as targets. Either way, the problem that's making people not play Bounty Hunter would be fixed. If the ditch gets nerfed on top of this universal timer, that would mean that no PKer would have to wait 2 minutes without the chance of eliminating their boosting target. The final option is the most detrimental to legitimate PKers and investors and would only be a last resort if none of the previous strategies worked. But it's still better than removing Bounty Hunter altogether. If everything else fails and Bounty Hunter is still overrun by rage-inducing boosters, we could nerf the Bounty Hunter store. Emblems aren't the problem if you think about it, it's their ability to be translated directly into GP. Solution 4 would be to remove all items from the BH store that are tradable and make every blighted item untradable. We would still have the blighted foods, super restores, and rune sacks, but they would have to be gained by PKing and ranking up or receiving emblems as drops. Additional blighted items like Blighted Guthix Rests and Ceradomin Brews could be added too because they shouldn't affect the market much due to being untradable. This would greatly disincentivize people from trying to buy or sell kills because the emblems themselves would hold no value. If you ask me, Bounty Hunter would still be worth playing. PKing supplies like mana rays and super restores cost a lot of money per day. A single fight typically costs around 30k in supplies. So if you use your Bounty Hunter points to buy blighted foods, then you're saving probably 20k plus per fight, and that adds up. The emblems would still be giving you additional profit, but indirectly. An indirect benefit of making all blighted items untradeable is that it would bring a lot of players to Bounty Hunter. Anyone who likes PKing in the wilderness on normal worlds probably uses those amazing blighted spell sacks to save inventory space. If they're untradeable and only gotten through Bounty Hunter, they'd have to come play the game mode to get them. So we'd probably see a lot more activity, but then again a lot of BH regulars might not play anymore if the emblems no longer hold a direct GP value. One quick thing that I should mention that is also broken about Bounty Hunter is that at least one of the tasks on the task system is glitched. I and many others can't complete the task that requires you to kill your target using ranged on the last hit. Even when you're 100% positive that the last hit wasn't recoil or vengeance, the task still doesn't get completed. It would be nice if this were fixed since, as my name implies, I like using Void to PK with. Well, those are my 4 best ideas for fixing Bounty Hunter. Obviously, a combination of the first 3 methods plus boosting detection software would be the best way to prevent emblem farming and get rid of those entitled little squirts who demand you pay them 200k to just stand there. But I know that's probably out of the question, so I hope that Jagex can at least implement Solution 2 and/or 3 and save this awesome game mode. Jagex, if you're watching this, please don't take the easy way out and just delete Bounty Hunter. Lots of players like myself don't like PvP worlds, but we love to battle other PKers one-on-one. And if you're a PKer or even a PVM only player watching this, please help me get the word over to Jagex. Bounty Hunter being alive and well does benefit the PVM community, because if PKers have a good place to fight each other, that makes a lot of us much less inclined to hunt down players doing Wilderness Slayer or bossing when we're looking for that excitement and exhilaration. Anyway guys, please let me know what you think of these solutions in the comments, or even suggest your own. And again, I would greatly appreciate it if you could help me get this seen by Jagex by liking and sharing the video and tweeting it at them. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I'll see you next time.